Welcome to Connections. Loyce Smallwood here today, this afternoon, with Jane Haworth.
Haworth, yeah, that's right.
Yes, and Jane, welcome back. You're a veteran now to our little set with your beautiful.
Second time on the show.
Yes, and you brought along your own guest today.
Yeah, my guest today is Victoria Beninga, and she's somebody that I met at Mountain Mums. It's like a local group for mothers and young children.
So that was a few years
so
ago.
That was quite a few years ago, yeah. My children were about 3 years old, or 3 and 4 at the time.
So a friendship forged in Meadow Vista?
Auburn, Meadow Vista, in the area, yeah.
Well, isn't Auburn great, because there are clubs and groups for everyone and every size and color, right? I mean, we just have so many wonderful groups, and there's no reason to not be aligned with somebody that is into the crafts or mommydom or whatever, right? I think even Bill might be in a motorcycle group. Somebody is in some group, whether it's golfing. I mean, there's just so much here in Auburn. Okay, since you are the veteran, Jane, we're going to let you first talk about your beautiful quilting, and then you had an announcement you wanted to make about your quilting guild?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I've been quilting probably for about 7 years, although I've been sewing probably since I was very young. And it was something I didn't do in England, but coming here, I still sewed, but it took me a few years to get to know what the quilting was. And rather than going the traditional route, I make art quilts. So
very pretty.
You can see I like colour. So.
Yes, you do like color. Now, the hummingbird speaks for itself, quite beautiful and lovely with the pastel colors in the background. And what flowers are those? Put you on the spot there.
Yes, I'm not sure. It could be a fuchsia.
Yes, out of your imagination. Yeah. Okay, and then the church here is very interesting. Where is that?
The church is in Hanalei Bay in Kauai. It's some place I've been to probably 3 times now, and when you drive by, it's always the, most photographed church, I would think.
So the process then is from photograph to...
Yeah, I use my photographs, and I'll probably do an enlarged drawing of it, and then make a pattern for the church especially.
And behind me?
And then that is just abstract collage. I think I did a painting like that, and then I wanted to transfer it into fabric. So
I can't see.
And then right at the back are the Monterey jellyfish.
Oh.
So that's somewhere my family loves to go and visit, is the Monterey Bay Aquarium.
So land and sea and sky, whatever pushes your fancy there. Yeah. Alrighty, and what do we do as far as selling some of these? You're on Etsy, right?
Yeah, I do have a shop on Etsy, which is it's a store which showcases craftspeople, artists, designers, makers. So everybody has their own store or shop, and then you can go on there, search for an item that you want. And I'm currently making a lot of t-shirt quilts.
Okay, and we have an example here.
And I have one on the table there.
And t-shirts are then salvageable when they have holes. We can still give them a new life.
Yeah, a lot of people just love their t-shirts and don't want to throw them away, so they just save them up, not really knowing what to do with them. And so when they find me, they send me their t-shirts.
Recycle.
And then I get to cut them up and use the fabric as well.
And I see some ties.
Yeah, this one is for a lady, and they're actually her dad's t-shirts and some of his shirts, and those were his favorite ties. So she wanted them included in the quilt somehow.
Oh, how fun. Get to
I think she'll
work with things that have had a prior life.
Yeah.
Interesting. Now I have to give you some special kudos, because ACTV is going to have a fundraiser, and it was originally set for this month, but now it's in April 6th next year. And Jane donated a lovely honeybee.
Do you remember that one?
I don't remember the honeybee one. I would if I
saw it. The background is different coloured honeycomb, and then I made almost 3 dBs on top.
3 dBs, yes.
Good, that's
quite
a great
one.
lively. So we're looking forward to including that in our silent auction. And now I will segue over to Victoria and find out if she quilts.
I do, but not as well as Jane. I do more traditional quilts. I am starting to work a lot with denim. I like to work with flannel. I don't do many art quilts. I mainly do warm quilts that you can use to stay warm.
Functional.
Yes.
You want to cozy up an art quilt sometimes, right?
Yeah.
Now, Victoria, why don't you bring our viewers up to date and yours truly here, what you are doing at Kahi. You're known as the PSA lady. Do we still credit you with that label then? Do we send you our messages when we have something that is, you know, for nonprofit, like our ACTV bulletin or whatever?
Yes, you do.
Okay, so why don't you tell us about that, and then we'll let you go into the history of Meadow Vista.
Okay. Well, as far as public service, if you want something to be publicized at Kahi Radio, you can email me the information at psa@kahi.com, psa@kahi.com. And I will put the information on the Kahi website. We have a community happenings page if you want to see events that are coming up. You can go to kahi.com, click on community happenings, and you can get all that information. I will also give a list to Mike Nichols, who does Swap Shop on Saturday mornings from 7 to 8 a.m. He reads all the events during his show. The on-air hosts are also given a list of events that are submitted at least 2 weeks in advance that they read as time permits. And then if it's a local nonprofit event, if I have at least a month's notice, then I will record a community bulletin board announcement with it that will run a couple of times a day.
Wonderful. Now, why don't you refresh our memories here collectively as far as Saturday? What are the local shows that have been on forever, as long as I've been involved?
Swap Shop's been on forever. That's Mike Nichols from 7 to 8 a.m. You can call in if you have something you want to sell, and a local nonprofit event coming up. You can talk about that. And then we have Kahi Corral, which has been on for a very long time, which is an animal show. Very fun. We have hosts that rotate on that. And then we have Garden Guru, which has been on a very long time as well. And we have different hosts that rotate on that show as well. So Kahi Corral is on at 8, and then at 9 o'clock we have Garden Guru, and then on 10 o'clock we have a golf show. And then on Sunday mornings we have Cruisin' Garage, car show, and swap meet.
Well, as long as I can remember, these programs have remained in place, so that's good to know that some things we can rely on and count on, set our clocks by, and I think that Kahi is now, what, in its 52nd year, Victoria?
Something like that. We had our 50th anniversary 2 or 3 years ago, which was a big celebration, which was fun.
Exactly.
And Kahi is one of the few remaining locally owned radio stations in the country.
Website?
kahi.com.
Well, you are still very active over there, so you are to be applauded, because you, I believe, said that long before you went on and became the PSA person, that you were connected, or you were aligned with Kahi, calling in and with bulletins and that sort of thing, or just listening?
Well, I started out just coming in on Fridays on Dave Rosenthal's morning show. He had what was called the Friday Fun Bunch, and I used to have a website of family-friendly activities, and I would come in and talk about family-friendly events coming up. And Jane actually kind of took that over for a while, doing those announcements.
Okay.
And then that worked into co-hosting with Barry in the morning 2 days a week for about a year, and then that worked into the public service. And then when I used to do the Wednesday afternoon show, because Dave would take Wednesdays off. And Kahi is very high tech now. We also have streaming, so you can listen online at kahi.com, and we also have a Kahi app called Kahi Radio if you want to listen on your iPhone or your Droid or something like that.
And didn't Kahi start out some years ago with FM and AM?
We did. It used to be Kahi was the AM and Cahill, KHYL was the FM.
History. Okay, since you're so good at history, we're going to have you share then. Your home digs are out in the hamlet of Meadow Vista.
Yes.
So we're going to have you share, because you're a writer as well, right,
Yes,
Victoria?
I do freelance writing. In fact, Jane and I, that's another thing we do together is we belong to the writers group together, Gold Country Writers, Inc., INK.
Yeah.
Great. Well, we'll have to kind of nudge you a bit, maybe to, you're a very busy gal, but maybe the two of you could add some additional programming here and do a travel log here once a month. Wouldn't that be fun?
Yeah.
Yes, and bring some of
Interesting,
your
yeah.
pictures, because you're taking lots of pictures too, right?
Right.
Right.
Yes. Well,
And I used to do an on-the-road report where I would talk about different events coming up and local history. And so I have some Meadow Vista history, if you want to know.
okay, let's dive in.
Okay.
Meadow Vista history.
Meadow Vista history, well, back in the 1840s, you know, you had the gold panners flocking to Auburn and Colfax. Well, Meadow Vista was being populated by asthmatics and cattle, and I'll talk about that a little later. But the original inhabitants of Meadow Vista were the Native American Nasina Maidu, including Lizzie Enos. And Lizzie is the subject of a biography called Udi, a Maidu Legacy, written by Richard Simpson. She spent much of her time making watertight willow baskets and grinding acorns into flour to make porridge and bread. And many of her descendants still live in Meadow Vista. Several Native American grinding stones were destroyed years ago during road construction, but there's still one that it was unearthed and spared, and you can see it if you go down Placer Hills Road on the right. There's a real estate office called Sierra Pacific Real Estate, and out in front of their office there's Indian grinding stones, and they welcome people to come look at those. They do school tours there too. In the 1850s, pioneer settlers established homesteads and set up ranches, and then during the 1940s and 50s, people started subdividing, and they started making smaller and smaller parcels. And when it got to where they were 1/3 of an acre parcels, the residents said, no, we want to keep it more rural than that. So they circulated a petition to require 1 acre minimum building sites. And in 1963, Meadow Vista became the first town in Placer County to implement official zoning. In 1951, the small Meadow Vista Library opened in what is now a real estate office, and a hitching post was installed so the little school kids could ride their horses from school to the library or from home to the library. They now have a larger library behind Holiday Market. And Meadow Vista was once home to several health retreats because of the climate, and many families settled in Meadow Vista for health reasons. There's one family who still has members there, the Merlin Lay family. They bought a cattle ranch there after World War II so their son Herb, who had asthma, could breathe easier. Another brother, George Lay, still very active in the community. You see him all around town, and he founded the Society for the Preservation of the History of Meadow Vista. And George fondly recalls his childhood in Meadow Vista and his Native American friends. He said, they were just our friends. We didn't think of them as being any different. Now, Meadow Vista also used to be the winter home of cattle from Sacramento. What they would do is, each year when their low-lying land flooded, the cattle were brought up to Meadow Vista to graze. And the weather in Meadow Vista, typical foothills weather, you just never know. Sometimes in the winter we have lots of snow, sometimes we have none. I remember one storm in 1990 that dumped 36 inches of snow, and George Lay, the gentleman I spoke of before, recalled, he said, one time the snow came up to here, and he held his hand up to his neck, and then he said, of course I was only in 2nd grade at the time. So, that's the history of Meadow Vista.
Okay, I was going to say, 1990 was that snowstorm, and I think that was my first year in Auburn, and I said, what? I can't get up my driveway. And I found out who was a good friend, because Mark Gentry, who's a handyman, now a contractor, electrician, lives out in Meadow Vista, and he came and brought us a bunch of survival kit, you know, kerosene lamp and all that stuff that we didn't think we needed, you know. We're in Auburn.
Right, Auburn has its share of snow too, but we had no power for 6.5 days. And my husband now, we were dating at the time, and he would come pick me up in his 4-wheel drive and take me to work, and then at night he would come over and I would cook him dinner on the wood stove, and it was very romantic for about 4 days.
4 days, How did they manage in the past? 4 days, 5 days, so that's our electricity went out, I think it was Sunday, and it was like, oh, I was right, you know, at your computer when it always goes off, and it's like, okay, you feel so helpless, and it's like, what did they do? Well, they just sat around and probably TALKED, they talked and they told stories and they related. Okay, so you two are doing something on the road. Where's your next trip? Going to make another trip out of the area, or what?
Actually, Victoria's going to see a quilt show this weekend down in Santa Clara.
Santa Clara?
It's called the International Pacific Quilt Festival.
Wow,
and I actually have a quilt exhibited there.
That's a very good accomplishment because it's one of the more famous quilt shows.
Well, that's exciting. And don't you have something to brag about as far as a magazine that you were featured in? Can we revisit that?
Yeah, I was featured in an English magazine. It's called Modern Quilting, and that featured a postcard quilt that I'd made.
Now, what is this here?
This, actually, on my Etsy shop, I also, as well as the t-shirt quilts, I do memory quilts or anniversary quilts, and it was actually my wedding anniversary last week.
Oh, congratulations.
So I made
21st.
I printed pictures onto fabric and then made the quilt.
Clever. Well, what an inspiration for you, Victoria, to just get busy, huh?
Yeah. Rather than buying a card,
I'm
I made
just
a
not
quilt.
good at those kind of quilts.
We all have our
quilts,
strengths, right?
Our quilts and things like that have a special. Every quilter has a different style, and
Sure.
Jane is very talented with things like the art quilts and photograph quilts and things like that.
Now, what's the large one?
Right, this is another one I do. I call them family tree quilts.
Gorgeous colors.
And so this one I've used. This is my family. So I've printed photos onto fabric again,
Fun.
and incorporated the names and dates of birth.
Love those.
Things like
The
that,
green
so.
pops out at you. And then the utilitarian, you would probably do something like that then, Victoria, right?
I would do something like that.
Yeah, because you could use it and
That's got
Misuse
jeans.
it.
Yeah, I used
Yeah.
old jeans in this one.
clever.
So some of this fabrics that I've painted and just used and cut out.
Now, we know that telling secrets out of school here, Jane's entire home that I visited the other day is just a big studio. You're probably maybe limited to a couple of rooms, Victoria. Do you have your own niche at home?
Well, right now I have a corner in the office and the kitchen, but we're getting a garage with a room above it, and my daughter, who's in college, is going to be moving out there, so I will have my own whole sewing room.
Spread your
soon.
wings then. Okay. Now, speaking of sewing, I think maybe we should give a plug to Howells.
Howells.
Because they're so
Yeah.
strong.
Yeah,
good.
I teach a couple of classes at Howells, and that's a great place if you want to buy a new sewing machine. And they also have sewing supplies there, and they sell fabrics, and there's not many places in town now
That's true.
where you can buy fabric.
The craft store is long
So-
gone, that was downtown, and the
Yeah.
quilting store is, what a
That's
big hole
gone.
they left,
Yeah.
right? But good for Howells,
Howells,
because a
yeah.
lot of people will be going over there, and they're now on Bowman. They've been there for a couple of years
Yeah,
now, right?
Yeah, it's located on Bowman.
They still do the vacuum cleaners?
Yeah, vacuum cleaner repairs and servicing and sewing machine servicing.
So,
And I
go
I
ahead.
was going to say I teach an occasional class too.
Oh,
I
good.
taught
What are
a
you
flannel
teaching?
rag quilt class there.
Flannel quilt? Oh, no, that sounds cozy
And
on
some
one of these evenings.
beginning sewing classes, things like that.
So do you think that sewing is going to still remain on the horizon in the crazy world of technology? Are people still going there, Victoria?
Absolutely. Sewing is you can be as creative as you like. If you're not a creative design person like Jane, you can find instructions on how to make something, and it's just very relaxing and it's very rewarding.
So a good place to start would be at Howells, and you could take maybe basic quilting there. Then some people like to just be in a group.
You could, yeah. And also online, there's so many classes
yes.
and ideas, things like that.
Because with this weather this evening, this reminds me of what happens when we get housebound. I get
Yes.
very restless, and I thought,
Yeah.
I better find some projects to do. I took up beadwork last winter, and that got me through it. But then I said, next project. I've already made enough necklaces and earrings. Okay, anybody want to jump in? And we have several minutes still
Well, I
left.
was going to mention another place, if you're interested in quilting, is the Foothill Quilters Guild that Jane and I both belong
Okay,
to.
tell us about that.
It meets once a month, the second Monday of the month, out at Cornerstone Church at the corner of Dry Creek and Jurger Road. And there's about a $35 a year fee to join, so it's very reasonable. We have a business meeting first, and then we always have a speaker or some kind of other event like a party. They offer lots of classes and workshops, so you can learn a lot there too.
And you can get inspired by other people's quilting.
Show and tell.
Show and tell.
Yeah, I think that always
popular.
helps, because some people, you know, they just procrastinate, and then if they get somebody that says, well, gee, I was a beginner just like you, you are not alone. You know, I think some of us are overachievers. I know I don't like the crawling area. I just want to leap ahead. That was one thing about Kahi. They just said, oh, well, we don't give you instruction here. Just dive in and swim. And I said, yikes. And just did that. And it's like, it all worked out, right?
Yeah.
So what's going on then for the holidays? Are you gals going to be doing anything special as far as your travels and going anywhere where it's Christmassy that you'll be, or are you staying close to home?
We're staying close to home. We're very involved with our church, so we're the committee that I'm on is in charge of the children's Christmas service, so we're very busy with that, and so we're mainly just staying close to home this year.
And you, Jane?
For me, yeah, I'll probably be staying close to home, but I was just thinking at Howells, actually, since September, they've been hosting once a week. They've called it 12 Days of Christmas, and on a Thursday morning you can go there and learn to make a small holiday-themed item. So actually the 1st of November, I'll be teaching how to make a reusable advent calendar. So it's something you'd hang on the wall, and it has small pockets, 1 to 24, and you could fill those with candy or candy canes or like some Christmas themed thing you want to do.
Some time ago when Howells was in the Bel Air Shopping Center, that had to be at least 3 years now, maybe they've been gone, I went over there and took a scarf, tie-dye scarf class from Phyllis Ingmeyer.
Okay.
She's a massage therapist, which I believe she's located now at the Healing Light Institute, which is right next door to the State Theater, which is where Kahi is.
Right, yeah.
And so, can anybody tell me what's going on with Phyllis and her endeavors? Because I think she was a quilter also, or a knitter. I think she's a knitter.
I'm not familiar with her talents that
no,
way.
I don't know.
I'm just familiar with her massage.
She was teaching, I think you would take these long silk scarves and we would dip them in salt water that dye had been added to, so you had sort of this blotchy type artsy look, and that was kind of fun. And I was wondering if Howells is still doing a variety of those type classes. Probably. I wouldn't see why not.
They do a variety, yeah.
Yes.
I've actually, at home in my garage, I've tried some hand dyeing, so it's always fun.
Victoria, then you're just looking forward to doing some more quilting then, right? Okay. And then where can the viewers, the audience, where can they find your writing?
Well, I write for the same as Jane, another thing we have in common, Gold Country Times newspaper. So goldcountrytimes.com. I do reviews of musicals and some travel articles. That's about it right now.
Kahi? Can they find you through Kahi?
Oh yeah, well, if anybody wants to send me events, you just give me the details of the event and I'll write it up into the format that we use, but you can just email it to psa@kahi.com. If you didn't get that, you can just go to kahi.com and click on community events, and there's a link where you can submit information for events.
Now, since I'm out of the loop after a few years of absence from Kahi, Victoria, if someone wants to go on and talk about a book or whatever, whom do they contact over there now?
Well, we don't do as many interviews these days, but Dave Rosenthal is usually the one that would be interviewing, and the best way to contact him is by phone, which is 530-885-5636. Weekday afternoons are the best time to reach him.
Well, there's a new store that you both should know about. It's called Cat's Country Corner, located directly across from the Central Square, and it's next to the lighting store.
Okay.
And Cat has beautiful leather boots and lots of Western type clothing in there, and turquoise jewelry. variety of that. And she has some collectibles and books and whatever. So I was thinking perhaps I would nudge her to go on the Kahi Corral show because Kat is a horseback rider.
Oh, perfect.
8 o'clock in the morning, probably not so,
Yeah.
probably not going to be too crazy about that time because she likes to avail herself now of the later hours because, you know, people dine in the square there. There's an Italian restaurant there. I won't try to pronounce that. Very good pizza and Italian food. So have you had a chance to bask in the sun over there?
I haven't been to the restaurant, but I've spent time at Central Square.
Oh,
Tango, yes,
Isn't that
Tango.
great? Yeah, Tangos.
Tango frozen yogurt and sit outside and.
So great, yes.
Yeah, I've been to the Italian restaurant.
No, what's your favorite meal there?
Oh, I can't. I've only been once, so, but it was all very good.
I had pizza
Yeah,
the
it's
other day. I
excellent.
got a pizza for Kat because she never leaves her store. She's just married to her store. I call it her new baby. Her last name is Stewart, and I say, "Baby Stewie is only 4 months old. You must be patient. You will be buried with the baby for a while." So anyway, I went over and got pizza, and I didn't want meat, so I just got the cheese and vegetables. It was delicious, yummy. I got that for her, and then I got fettuccine with the tomato sauce marinara, and that was really good too. And of course, yesterday I went over to Tango's. It was such a beautiful fall day, and they had maple, maple, like when they put on those maple bars, yogurt. So I had maple, and then I can have orange. Maybe it's still there.
Well, that's my favorite flavor too.
The orange.
And
they had cheesecake. I was like, I had to sample everything first.
That would be nice.
So Tango's now. What about? Have you been down to Local Heroes?
Oh yes, love Local Heroes.
What about you?
No, I've not heard of.
Share, Victoria. What do you like down there?
Where Trejo's used to be. If you go past the State Theater, turn right. It very good burgers and fries.
And they have
for that one.
also a black bean mixture for people that don't want to eat meat. And
veggie
with
burgers,
all the
right?
with all the condiments and everything, you're just there. It's just so delicious. And then they have sweet potato fries.
Oh,
That's the first time I've tried sweet potato fries and loved them.
Yummy. And then, of course, when people come into the stores now and want to use the restrooms, and you have that compliant problem now, we can refer them. They can refer the storekeepers to the visitor bureau. Have you been down there?
No, I haven't been to only the old one, not the new one yet.
Yeah.
Well, the new one is right across from Local Heroes, kind of just up the street a bit. And they are very spacious. The other one was spacious also, but it's nice to have that right downtown.
Right, that's a good location for it.
So seems like, what else do we have down there then around the corner? I think they're starting to do something. Victoria, you need to tell me over at Izzy's. What's going on over there? They were hammering the other day when I walked by there.
I don't know.
Well, let's find out. I will. Because that's been empty for a while, so I'm happy to see people in there.
Oh, good.
And now, do you go over to Hilda's at all?
I do. In fact, Hills is kind of sentimental because we got our wedding cake there.
Oh,
so I head over to Hills, and of course Depot Bay Coffee, where I usually go every Friday for my BLT and my coffee drink. I love Depot Bay.
Yes, those are very, very hard-working people. Let's see, there's just so many. I was going to mention across the street from Hilda's is Get Dressed. Have you been there yet?
No. What is that?
Okay, that's a resale store, and a young gal by the name of Maria Francis owns it, and she has some vintage clothing in there, like from the 50s and 60s, like Argyle tops, and everything is just very affordable because she does some consignment, and so she has, and she's also a seamstress. So she does alterations to kind of help grow her baby, because I think her baby is only about 6 months, and she has 2 babies, or 2 young children. So we wish her luck. She was on the show about 3 or 4 months ago. So I think there's always something happening new in downtown.
I visited Rochambeau.
Rochambeau, now that is right next to Kat. That's Kat's neighbor, and she does vintage. Do you go in there?
Yeah, my daughters had been in there, and they said, "Oh, yeah, you must go, you must go." And they had a lot of stuff that was for sale on Etsy as well. So she has
that's interesting. I think she has things from the 50s and the 60s. Yes, and she's having a big sale out in front of her store. So, I always say, stay in Auburn and save your gas money now. It's just getting to be. But it takes you what, about 7 minutes to get from Meta Vista?
13 minutes.
13. You must be way out there then, Victoria.
Kind of.
13.
A little bit out there.
I think it takes me 10 or 11. Seems like we can't go as fast as we used to. There's always more stoplights from Christian Valley.
Right.
So I'm always thinking,
to the park, the downtown Meadow Vista, such that it is, to the park it's about 7 or 8 minutes, but then we're out another 5 or 6 minutes past that.
Okay, I'm thinking that we're right toward the end here, so I'm going to have you each give your contact information. We'll make sure we get that in there again.
Yeah,
Jane?
to find me, I have my website, www.haworthfamily.com. Oh, actually, .name, sorry. And you can also find me on Etsy, so it's etsy.com/shop/happyquiltdesigns.
Okay, Victoria,
And then if you have any events you want to publicize, nonprofit events, you can send me the information at psa@kahi.com or call 530-885-5636.
Well, I think we've covered quite a bit. We had history and art, and Bill is doing that like in there, so I think we're going to be okay. Now he's doing this. They do that on the radio, don't they? Okay, signing out. It's been joy and fun and good connections, and I'm glad we're here today to enjoy what we enjoy.
Thank you.
Yes.